This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello, everybody. Got Tiffany, Coach Tiff on the side, and got Coach
Hey.
for Pandora's Playbook. Pandora's Playbook coming to you live. What's this? July 1st. First full, I guess, second full weekend for the summer months. All of the football kickoff and tournaments and everything, and basketball tournaments are going crazy out there. Tiff, how you
Yes,
survive?
they are.
How you survive the weekend, dear?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Man, when I came home, I went straight to sleep. Listen, I was asleep all day yesterday. I felt like I was playing basketball.
Okay. So today's topic, Wayne, you kind of touched on it this morning on your own show. Today's
Man, I
topic,
didn't even know that was part of the manuscript, but we getting it on. We getting it on.
don't even, it never know what's going to happen here in the box. So we going to discuss the topic of youth sports and the machine itself, the machine. And why do I call it a machine?
So, Am, I know why you do, but let me go with my quote of the day.
Okay, go to your quote of the day.
Of course, I was intrigued by this new topic, which I think is really important. I found a few great quotes about. I looked up the quote for machine, right? So I found a few good quotes about machine. It says, "Only a well-oiled machine runs smoothly," right? That's by Ron Kaufman.
Okay.
And the other one I really liked, it says, "As machines take over the decision-making that saves lives, we are left with fewer chances to save lives later." That's by Greg Cutfield. I want to say that one again.
Yeah, say that one again.
As machines take over the decision-making that saves lives,
okay,
we, the people, are left with fewer chances to save lives later.
Wow. Look
yeah,
at that.
And of course, they are speaking in terms of an actual machine.
Right.
But I thought this was so intriguing with the thought of what we're talking about today.
That fits so perfectly too.
Yep. We can actually come back to that later because I thought that was awesome.
No, we can stay right there because that kind of is like the segue into where we're trying to go. So when we
gang, I'll just go straight to the meat. Y'all be like, look, we ain't doing a whole lot of circle bit. We go straight to the heart of the matter. Love it.
Period. End of discussion.
Wow, that's something, simply because we call it a machine, or it's been coined a machine, not by me. The industry has, actually looked at it as a machine. It said the youth sports machine, destructive juggernaut or vehicle for success.
Wow.
And this comes from a current sports medicine reports from last year, or actually July and August of 2017. A destructive juggernaut or a vehicle for success.
Wow. We haven't even talked today about my quote and what you were going to say.
I know. Don't play with me.
We ain't even talked today about that.
That's rough because when you got to consider the source. Now you said that you said this was based upon who?
What I just said? Current sports medicine reports.
Sports medicine. This is kind of a touchy subject because if we all know there's so many student athletes that come through the process, be it middle school, high school, and college, that have had successes. We haven't seen in years and years of continually falling short how so many different coaches, counselors, and different media sources and things of that nature have continued to see kids reach college at such an epic level now in the last 4 to 5 years. When you sit here and say that the medical people feel like it's a problem, it's because somewhere along the lines you're starting to see the sport become safer, and it doesn't necessarily cater to the numbers that they want to see, which is we need your input. You think I'm coming from? You're not seeing as many of the concussions. You're not seeing as many of the breaks because now you start to see a lot of the practices now are without full contact. They're walkthroughs. They may not get full equipment until maybe the day before, and even then, it's still a walkthrough just with shoulder pads and helmets on. That's kind of a rough assessment from the outside looking in, because all I see is a lot of these great kids that, let's say 5 years ago, you might have had 60 to 70 kids go to a college. I know we're going to tap into this other subject, but now you're seeing close to 100, 150 that really just spread out across the country. It's not see a 10th grader or even an 8th grader getting a verbal commit. They not broke all up by the time they get to high school. They smarter, the IQ, and so
Wayne,
I
you have to beg a difference with you on this one.
Oh my gosh! Because and I know America probably has a lot more knowledge about this, but I just read an article last week or 2 weeks ago about the ACL tears have like tripled in numbers, and they said probably because of all the sports year around that they are actually, the kids are actually involved in. And as we talk, I have a couple of notes down from different, people and different researchers about the situation. So I do agree with you, though, that they feel like, okay, the athletes are doing this, that these and those. So now medicine, of course, is evolving, which is supposed to, right? But the machine of the medicine or the machine of our athletes, our coaches, or whatever the machine is, at some point it's a breakdown, because actually we know machines actually break down sometimes, need lubricant, need things that actually in order for it to work properly. But somewhere, somehow, something's going on.
I don't know. But now when you start looking at those numbers and you start saying the number of injuries, be it ACL tears, how many of those are dual sport athletes? How many of those athletes are playing basketball and football, or something that really puts that stress and strain on those limbs?
Actually, the research showed that it's most of the students who are in that one sport because they are not utilizing their body and their limbs at different sports.
Okay.
So
That's
it's a sport
important.
specialization issue.
Yep.
Sport specialization.
Oh my gosh, I got that too.
The year-round training where the body
Yep.
doesn't have time, so we break it down because we're training. You play, you train. At some point, the body has to have rest in order for your muscles to recover.
Right.
That part is not happening. So therefore, especially you look at a weekend travel series. Now this is what's the part of the process when they call the machine. All right. You got the single sport specialization, the year-round training, the weekend travel, the sacrifices that the families make to be able to participate, the financial burden, and then the impact that it has on the other siblings. So it's like they are now looking at the holistic piece of if one person that is the athlete, and so everything is catered to that one to make go to his games or her ballet and whatever the case may be. What is happening to the other kids that just got to pal around and go just because the other ones are playing? So it's actually, in some cases they're saying it's actually destructive also to the family unit, because families can't even go on summer vacation because they are running the courses of all the games and things like that. So that is a part of this cycle.
Now, but you also find out that you have teams. You have teams now or student athletes partaking in events where they're dueling out. Okay, yeah, you still have a tournament taking place, but like let's say this year it was supposed to be in Ocean City. Along with them being able to go and the student athletes partake in the tournament, you still got that vacation time because you're right there, Ocean City. Same thing in Myrtle Beach.
Come on now, like I know that's not real vacation.
How about you?
That's not real vacation, because you have to be on. You're still on a team schedule. You're still trying to fit in a little bit of time for family, unless you have the money and the resources to extend it out beyond that weekend.
But and
they wouldn't entertain going if it was an economic issue. Most of those people who do have an economic disparity, they're not going to. I mean, if you don't have the money to go, you don't have the money to go.
Oh no, let me just tell you this, and Coming from a mother right now who just came off of a weekend, right, of a basketball tournament, and I seen oh my gosh, it was an abundance of students.
Yeah.
I know personally, an abundance. Kids that I know without a shadow of a doubt economically don't have it. So everybody else rallies around them and makes it happen for the benefit of the child. But let me tell you, as Amaker said, yeah, we can't make it a family vacation because we had to win, and then we had to wait for this team to either win or lose, contingent upon their win or loss, whether we were going to get in, if we played at 3 o'clock or we played at 5 o'clock. So the thing is, okay, and then we win at 5 o'clock, then we got another game at 9, but we can't leave because the coach wants us all to have a team dinner before we go. And the coach wants us all to stay at a $300 hotel, which we don't have to, but it would be nice if we could. So now, so yeah, that family piece, it's nice as she said. It would be nice if we could extend it for 2 or 3 days and make a family vacation out of it. However, that typically doesn't happen, and I see a lot of both of my kids play, so I benefit from that. I have 2 boys, but I seen a couple kids this weekend. Man, can we go here? Can we go here? No, we got to stay at the gym. I was in the gym probably for 9 hours on Saturday alone. You know what I'm saying?
So you're in the midst of what you tip.
Literally in the midst of
it right now. You're in the midst of it.
The fact that that's what you see. I respect the fact that that's what you see, but even on some fronts, you have some student athletes, of course, that because of their abilities, their grades, and what have you, some of them aren't charged the full rate that some other kids may pay. They don't advertise that. They don't bring that all out.
Oh, right.
So there was an economic issue. Sometimes they'll bring that up to the during the registration process or to the provider or the sponsor, and they make those provisions. Either or, the kids still find a way to get there. The parents still make those ways out there. And even with the way they structured, like I said, Showtime did an incredible job. Most of the games were over by 5 o'clock. So you still had the whole night to do whatever. And the first games didn't start back up till 10 the next morning. So you had ample time to do whatever. And so
maybe you said Showtime, right? So maybe Showtime needs it.
I'm basing it off of this one because, like I said, I agree with you. In years past, it was flooded. It was like, wow, you get to the field at 7 and you there till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Most times it's a 2-game exchange. You play a game on Saturday, you play a game on Sunday. And you're not really obligated to be at the field all day long. Maybe the coaches are, maybe the teams are, but you come play your game and you still got the rest of the day yourself if you got a 10 o'clock kickoff time.
Okay, so you're referencing football, right?
Yeah. So
I think that's important. Like, that's football, right?
Right.
As far as basketball is concerned, soccer is concerned, I can only go on basketball and soccer because those are the 2 sports, and baseball.
And I can go on volleyball and baseball.
You can go on volleyball, right? So with these sports, we're playing. So for instance, Saturday, my son's first game didn't start until 6 p.m. That was a change for me because usually we thinking 10 o'clock, 12, and maybe 2, and we good. The first game was at 6 Saturday. The last game was at 9. Then Sunday we came back and was 10 o'clock and then continued upon our wins and our losses, right?
Right.
So Sunday's out the window. Saturday was pretty good because we didn't have to be there until 4:30ish. So we had a little opportunity, but that was new for me. But then soccer, I mean, we've been in a soccer situation where we played 6 games in one day.
Oh, well.
Wow.
But you see what I'm saying? But that's because we are winning, and then we lost, and we get in a loser bracket.
You got to play your way out.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then baseball, you might get 3 games in one day. Baseball can be really long. Ooh. So I think it all depends on
the
sport.
The sport.
And sport.
It's really important for the sport. Now, volleyball, I know we could probably go daggone a whole lot of games in one day for volleyball.
Typically in volleyball, you go on a minimum of 3 games a day. 3 games, so they can be anywhere up to 9 sets. And then, like I say, if you go into that losers bracket, you're playing multiple games. If you're in that loser bracket, you get to the end, and you got to play your way out of there. You're playing all day. So volleyball, the typical volleyball tournament, we arrive at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we do not leave till 5 o'clock.
No doubt.
And that's how that setup goes. So my first question, as we had some particular questions,
Come on.
was at what age? Because this is a concern for many people. At what age should somebody enter the funnel? I see Coach. All right, come on in, Coach Stacy, and I definitely want you to chime in on this one because you also are a coach. Can you hear me, Coach Stacy? So I want you to definitely. When should somebody enter into the funnel?
I think that's kid by kid. That's a kid by kid basis. Some. I've seen some. You got some great teams that play and start in second grade. It's not for everybody. Some might wait till 4th or 5th grade.
What is the distinguishing factor for somebody to say, my child should go into this whole system of participation? See, that right there, because there is no criteria.
No, that's a broad
criteria. Our parents are getting caught up, and the children.
That's kind of a broad question. It's still case by case. You got some parents who feel like, hey, look, my son is very athletic. He's strong. He's fast. They want to get him to learn, get him in there early. Some of them start, like I said, in 2nd grade. They're already active. They run around. Then you got some that say, hey, look, I want to wait for my son to mature mentally. And they're like, well, all right, well, maybe I'll get him into it maybe 4th or 5th grade. Me personally, if you wait till 7th or 8th grade, you're too late. Especially if you're trying to make an impact in high school because it takes some time. See, we're talking, again, we talking about the contrast of sports. Basketball, you shooting, you moving around, there's not a lot of equipment. When you got a football helmet on, there's a world of difference between me throwing you a football the way you sitting there right now, and I say, hey, Coach Bibbins.
Hey, I got it.
The helmet on is a whole nother world.
Right. And then I believe that, but
go ahead, that's me, my little phone went off, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Calling you. Sometimes I think it's an adjustment period for you to be able to make that. And sometimes kids can get it early. Sometimes you want to wait till like the 4th or 5th grade and they say, hey, Mom, I want to play football. You got basketball is pretty much something they do anyway recreationally, whether it's at the park, whether it's at school lunch period. They're doing it anyway. So sometimes those things, I would say, case by case, have to be a subject.
But Coach Amaker, I think it's a catch-22 to that.
Okay.
Right? Because I feel like, you put your kids in sports when they're young because it's social. They start to learn stuff, have fun, go out and things of that nature. But if you don't, then, you find it, if you find that if you don't put them in when they're supposed to be in, then they're behind the 8 ball.
Well, when it's supposed to is the question.
So listen, so at HuffPost.com, I looked up, and it says, starting organizational sports too early can miss important life lessons of adulting for continued organizing playing. Like just going outside, playing basketball, or riding your bikes, riding a skateboard, walking through the neighborhood, things of that nature. And it says, be careful. This is so funny about it. Says, be careful not to start too early because of the burnout, but also be careful not to start too late because of the opportunity.
Okay.
So when is the time?
So we're in the catch-22 now.
Yes.
So there was, I always got to do my research. There is what's called the American Developmental Model. Have you heard of that before?
I haven't heard of that.
Okay, the American Developmental Model was put together, designed by the NCAA, the Olympics Committee, and the governing bodies of sports.
Okay.
And they have created a model that says and gives a timeline as to when children should go participate at what level. For instance, at a level 1, there are 5 levels. Level 1, it is discover and learn. That goes from 1 to 12 years old. At that level,
12 years old.
And listen, it says discover, learn, and play. that says basic organized play. That's when they get into learning the game and have some organized play. All right. Now, there's some crossover in all these age groups, but everything ain't jumping out. You are medically playing tournament, which is what we're doing right now. Level 2 is develop and challenge. That goes from ages 10 to 16, and that's recreational and regional play. Level 3 is train and compete. That is from ages 13 to 19. That's club, regional, national play. In addition to, of course, your high school or your organizational team that you're in. Level 4 is participate and succeed and excel to high performance. That is 15 and up. And then at level 5, it's more so looking at being a lifetime thriving mentor. So you're helping somebody else. I see Coach Stacy, he has a question. So now those are the 5 levels. Now the governing bodies of sports have said this is the developmental stages. How are we as, I guess, citizens, parents, just circumventing this either because we don't know that it exists or because the machine, which is, that's why the second question of the day is what role does NCAA play in it?
But before Coach Stacy talks, my question is, on this governing body, are these former athletes?
Right. Yeah.
Because as a teacher, I know there's a whole lot of people tell me what I'm supposed to do as my job. However, they have never been in my position. So it's easy for them to tell me what I'm supposed to do because they've never been in that position. So my question is, the governing bodies on this committee, are these former athletes? And if so, on what level?
I don't know.
That's just a question.
Pull the Olympic Committee.
Politics. Medical specialists, how many of them are child advocates? You have to look. You have to really look at the source because, again, every kid, every situation goes case by case.
Yes.
We just had this conversation earlier. It also goes sport by sport. So that's no different than me going to the doctor's office and they telling me at 6'6", 320 pounds, I should be 210.
Let's not talk about that because I'm obese.
yeah, no doubt. Hey, look, I've been obese since I was like 3 months. So, what did you think?
So I get it. I agree with you.
All right, Coach Stacy raised his hand in the box. Yes, Coach Stacy, what you have to say, sir?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey.
In situation, I agree with everything that's been said. As a father of 4 athletes, who actually I'm working on my last one now, and the reason I go to the last one is because my boys both play football. Younger son, very athletic, had the whole thing, couldn't move, couldn't sit still in school, all that. So the sooner I got him in sports, the sooner school and all the other things started to mellow down, and he, acted appropriate. Now, my younger son, who's probably the bigger of the 2, we realized with him, I didn't get him into sports till later because he needed the other side of just going out riding your bike, as Coach Tiffany said, and just getting and just doing everything else but being serious. And it's funny, and it's all work for all of them. All my kids, I will say that they all took their sports serious. I guess Dad probably had a little more push than that, but they took it serious. They had a great time. They all successful. And now, like I said, leading to my last child, who's a sophomore, about to be a junior in high school. Now it's time. Now he's finally getting serious now. And like my man said, at 6, he's like 6'4", probably like 180, off the natural.
Okay.
So now we in the weight room. Now we doing stuff outside. Now we doing, all the drills and stuff that I had done with my other son when he was like 10, 11 years old. So I just think it's totally individual kid basis. It's parents understanding what their kids really need. Now,
Coach Stacy, so the difference with you, though, you're an athlete. You're a coach. You know what it entails. Yes. Now, the problem is with all of our parents out here that don't know, that aren't athletes, and they're going by what the machine manual pretty much tells them to do or not to do. And that's where I think it gets tricky because, my youngest son just turned 13, 6'1", point guard, and everybody say he should be playing on the block. Everybody say he should be playing in the elite. Everybody say he should. No, but his mother and father, they know better. You know what I'm saying? We know better than the machine manual know.
Well,
So
the
if I was,
machine.
go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think we all need to understand the machine feeds itself. The machine is monitored and feeds on parents' dreams and hopes. Every it's not one, as a coach of 20 plus years at the high school level, I haven't met one dad who didn't want his son to play quarterback no matter what size he was.
Got you.
You know what I mean? So it was one kid I remember specifically. This kid was like my man here, like 6'6", 300. His father was talking about, well, he could throw a ball. And I'm like, you do understand the dude that protects quarterbacks last just as long, if not even longer. You know, so you run through I think the machine feeds that parent who wasn't athletic or who wasn't as successful athletically. And I think that's the most important piece to all this, because parents ain't driving anywhere if they don't think it's going to benefit their kid.
Exactly.
Right.
So let me say this then.
If I can sell you, hey, yeah, you come do this tournament with me and come do this with me, and your son will get all these looks, these parents going to say in their mind, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to take Johnny regardless if Johnny plays 2 minutes or 10 minutes. They were at the camp where everybody was at. So
Right.
So is it
the machine is real.
So then now have the machine become to where, because if we really look at it, you got the youth sports, you have college, and you have pros. Off the break, most children that may start, they might say, oh, I want to play in the pros, that have a passion for playing sports. Those
right.
Now, then you get those that just kind of happenstance into it because they were just around it. Now, so are we saying that because money drives the machine, that the majority of individuals that are participating, from the parent putting their child in, their ultimate goal is to get them to go pro or to get a scholarship? So the aspect of playing just for the sake of the socialization and all the other great things,
that's out the window.
That's gone now.
That's a little far-fetched and outrageous when you say, I want my kid to go pro. I think right now the motivation for a lot of the parents who put their student athletes into these situations are looking, one, to have them active.
Right.
First and foremost, to be active. Then you have to look at the 10 to 15% of those working moms or working dads who say, he ain't gonna sit in the house and play Fortnite all summer. He need to get out and do something.
Right.
Whatever he do is that, but he's not gonna sit here and play PlayStation all day.
Right.
Percentage. Then there's the set that goes, you know what? He's pretty good. And if I get him the right tools and put him around the right people, maybe I can get him into college at a discounted rate because he got a scholarship. That I think for most parents, that's the end of the tape. Get through school, or at least get into school. Which, of course, leads back.
I can agree with that.
But you know what? With that being,
if you say you putting your kid in a sport at age 3 because he wants to go to the NFL, you put a lot of in your Kool-Aid, don't you?
But you know what, Wayne, I do believe what you said. I think you actually missed a step though, because I really believe as a middle school and high school coach that the parents also put their children in sports because it gives them another outlet, like you said, not just coming home and doing nothing. But it also builds the leadership, it builds the teamwork, it builds a lot of things. So, and some parents may not even be looking for maybe college, but it is the ultimate goal, I think. But I think a lot of, my high schooler needs to do something productive after school.
But those parents are different, T. Those parents are different. All those parents that y'all represent right now are not the machine parents. They're the ones that
I want to address
run the
that.
streets with all these tournaments and going all over the place.
Yeah, I'll address the machine
tournaments a month and stuff. So
come on, stay talking.
So as a middle school coach, middle school and high school, but I'll go to middle school basketball. That's where the machine begins in middle school basketball.
Go ahead.
Kids, like I've had kids that, you as a coach, you break down a kid, not just go to one specific, circumstance or a situation that happened with me. I recognize the kid, he couldn't drive from the 3-point line to the paint and make any other decision but shoot. It didn't matter. It was 5 kids around him. He was still shooting.
Well, he got that Kobe in him.
So you know, but yeah, he wasn't making it. So you know, you look kind of bad. You taking shots at people around you, and you got a kid underneath the basket waiting for the layup. So I moved the kid from the perimeter to just the high post, so he can learn how to catch and shoot, learn how to go turn and face the basket, make a dribble, but just make a decision other than shoot.
Right.
His father took him off the team 3 games in.
Wow.
We went undefeated that season and won the championship.
Wow. But
he
that,
didn't
I think, but Coach Stacy, now, and maybe I do think there's a difference between parents who actually played the sport and allowing their children to play a sport, not even the sport, but whatever sport they choose, versus parents who not athletic, haven't played, maybe was on a team, but didn't really play. I can see the difference in the two parents. They understand you better listen to the coach, sit down and be quiet. They're not giving their student athlete all of the coaching things on the sideline and things of that nature. I think there's a difference. And I also think that at middle school, that parents are actually ready for their kid. This kid is going to the NBA, NFL, NHL, whatever the case may be, immediately. I
agree. I disagree with the parent not knowing. It's the parents that actually play sports, the worst. It's the parents that have played sports and maybe had a little bit of success, and they put this pressure on their kid to be just as successful, if not more. Because we always teach our kids, you got to be more successful.
Be better than me.
Be better than me.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I've had people pull their kids out of school, homeschool them just to reclass.
Oh my gosh! Don't talk about reclass.
I've had all that, like all those things happen, and I just honestly think that parents and it's coaches that do it, because parents don't just have this idea, I'm gonna keep my kid out. No, that's a coach. That's some coach in the grind telling them, oh well, if you do this with your kid, or you let me have your or the whole, they build that trust relationship where they say, well, let me have your son and we'll do this and this with him. Parents just don't. A lot of parents just don't immediately think, oh, I'm gonna hold my kid, or I'm gonna take him this place, and they go through and you trying to navigate and they wait for that one guy to tell them what they want to hear.
So what's the MO of a coach to tell a parent, give them that kind of advice? What's the MO? So that's
well, he has his own motivation.
Somebody else that asks like, why would somebody kind of adversely advise or kind of go against the standards of education-based athletics? Because that's the part that we got to always remember. That's what it's supposed to be about.
Well, I think what happens is it's on an individual kid basis, but you have to be able to judge your kid and see him in this environment and have a great perspective of where he is.
Mm.
And I think that's the downfall. They see their kid competing, they see him at a certain level. Well, this coach can say he can take him to another. Like the whole, when you go back to basketball, where you got your team takeovers and your new worlds and all these top programs that just grab all these talent while they really developing it. I think parents need to understand, you want a coach that's going to develop your child, and you should be able to see your child develop and get better.
But that don't exist anymore. Because the part of the machine now, what it has done, it has impacted the grass, the recreational leagues. Boys and Girls Club can't even field teams anymore. YMCA teams can't even field teams anymore because it's a race for your child to play at that level. But how are they supposed to develop? If everything is about playing at that high performance level, if you have the skills, and so parents spend money, like you say, to sit on the bench, but they are a part of that team.
So let me tell you what's funny. Of course, I think I said this on another segment, but Kevin Garnett said the AAU is killing the NBA, and it's on Bleacher Report. He said these kids are not being taught anything. Now let's think about this. You talking about NBA, where the kids are top notch, coming out of all the great, wonderful organizations in college, and he's saying they're not being taught anything. And most of these kids are coming off of a high AAU caliber, right? Mm-hmm. He said the sense of entitlement for the young men is a disgrace. They're not being taught anything. They have not earned anything, but they need to be earning things because they are not entitled. They have to be taught to do everything. Charles Barkley feels the same way. Arash Markazi and Kobe Bryant says that European players are way more skillful because of the horrible, terrible AAU basketball. Now, as a mother of children who are AAU, I put all my money, time, energy, and effort, not only as a mother, but also as a coach, going around doing all these things. My problem is, the great thing I think about my own children, they have a mom and a dad that both are ball players, and that we have accessibility to a gym. So we are able to teach them all the things that they may be missing, because AAU, I find the practices are less fundamentally sound, more trying to run through plays and get the grasp of the play, right? Less development and things of that nature. Now, my children don't have that situation because they are being taught fundamentals and development. However, most of the kids, they're not going outside to the street basketball courts and playing.
It don't exist.
It does, but you know what? It really does. In the inner city, we were just playing a New York City team. They were asking, like, where's your son from? Oh my gosh, he been playing. Like, these kids are playing out in the street, out in the streets.
Okay,
right?
you see now.
So they don't have opportunity.
Okay. We are the suburban kids.
Absolutely.
Our city kids that grow up in DC don't do it so much anymore because of the violence. So
but I think
that's why it doesn't happen. But they won't.
But what I guess my main focus is, you got these people in the NBA who've been here, who've had to take all the other steps, have not had the AAU picture in their growing up and their development, but they're saying the kids coming in, they don't know anything. And that to me is big.
Well, because if you miss a step of development, normally, like I say, you go and you try out. You go and you go in and you try out. So when you try out, you at some level, even though everybody doesn't need to play that competitive elite ball, but every team wants to go and play in all those tournaments. So they set their practice up and say, we're just going to learn these plays. We're just going to run through here and we're going to go play. I would take it like
the machine says differently, Amaker.
Huh?
The machine says differently. The machine says, we're going to play. We can play. I need your money so we can get out here.
I know that. Now, I know that's what the machine says. But when you sit there and you look on the court, I could take volleyball for instance. For instance, DCPG, I take the girls that everybody cuts. But guess what? When I take the girls that everybody cut, the parents still want the same success as they see the teams that cut them have. And I was like, now tell me, if your child could not make that team,
right?
They could not make team A because their skill sets were not to that ability. How do you think when you have a group of girls who could not make a team actually now beat that team over time? Yes, and progression, yes, but right out the gate in the first, second tournament, it's not going to happen because you're
fundamentally you're developing them and you're giving them fundamentals, right? In order for them to hopefully take it to the next level, whether that be JV, varsity, or collegiate level, right? But if you don't do that, and they haven't had the opportunity to have it done when they were younger, this is what the parents are missing. The mom and dad who were the soccer coach, the baseball coach, the basketball, they're little 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. The dad or the mom who didn't really know, but they needed a coach, so let me go out there and do that. So now they are behind the 8 ball of those kids who had the trainer, yada, yada, yada. Now at 10 or 11, our kids are still, I teach middle school basketball. I coach middle school basketball. This year I had 2 girls on my team who've never played basketball. And I'm like, this is a ball. It bounces. It's going to come back to you, right? And everybody counted our team out. America, you know, right? But I taught them one thing: get the rebound, turn with the elbows out and look.
Turn it outlet. Turn it
If
outlet.
you can do that.
Do not let somebody snatch the ball out your hand.
But those things aren't happening in my mind, in my world, as of right now. The kids are expected to know the IQ. We were just talking about the IQ of basketball is absolutely terrible. Terrible. Kids don't have right now. I don't even want to say. Well, right now we've been playing in the JV summer league against some high private schools, right? They don't know IQ basketball, spreading the court, balancing the floor out. Somebody's on your side, replace them. You know what I'm saying? Those are the kind of things that we're still teaching in their 9th and 10th grade. That's a concern for me.
Well, just like when you think about youth football, you put the ball on the kid's hand. That's the fastest kid. Let him run around outside.
True.
You know. So what is some that's in some programs, not all that actually are teaching the fundamentals of the thing. Now, like I say, relating that back to then the American developmental model, where does that fall? So that's a level 1, level 2 when you get parents that. So how do you tell your parent, and I get a parent to understand that, okay, you want to put them at this fundamental level, developmental level, because nobody wants to ever believe that their child is not, ready to go, that they're not. I don't want to use the phrase elite, because elite used to be used for Olympians, but now it's just so freely used. It's like, how do you ascertain and have a criteria of what elite looks like? What does good looks like? What does a developmental player looks like? I think what we need to do in this whole machine thing is now have a criteria-based checklist, so parents can say, this is my child. Okay, this is where they should be playing at right now. Then this is, because the purpose of the whole American developmental model was designed to create a healthy sports experience and support athletes' advancement based on the physical, mental, emotional, and potential growth.
So, Coach, can you tell me this? How about if the coaches are honest with the parents? And then, the parents are honest with themselves, the coaches are honest with the parents, but also the coaches not automatically putting your child in a position where they think, just based off of the way they look, their build, or because they need this to be filled. For instance, my oldest son, he probably never played football after this experience because of this. 6 years old, my oldest son is tiny. He's very tall, but he's very thin, right? 6 years old, never played football. They put him in at center because the person who was center last year didn't come back. So they threw him in at center, never looked if he could do anything else, ever. So my son, 6 years old, never played football. He like, so you want me to take a block for that so that guy can be protected? Didn't teach them anything. He just didn't understand that. So why does he get protection and I don't? Why I gotta be the protector? You know what I'm saying? And those things. After that, he never played football. And I think that hindered him. And I had to ask the coach at the end of the season, like, he threw the ball when he's like, oh, you can throw, oh, you can run. I was like, you never even gave him a chance.
I don't want
my youngest son, as tall as he is, at his age, the first thing the coach want to do is put him on a block. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a bigger kid, he's a taller kid. And, and he goes with the flow until they see that he can halfway handle the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is what you told me to do. So I think the issue is with our coaches, we have to stop looking so far as self, especially in the younger coaches. It's not a self thing. It's developing these kids to hopefully have the foundation in order for the development to grow, in order for them to be better. And one of the reports that I was looking at, it actually says the benefits or the lack of benefits, the effects of healthy lead to critical injuries. This is with the kid who plays the same sport, the same position, and players need off-season time. But players who play multiple positions could be better athletes in the long run and have a higher level of a competitiveness. And I think that's really, really strong.
I agree with that.
Okay, I got some stats to go with all of this conversation we're having. 71% of Division I men's FCS football players played other sports before college.
71%.
71%. 88% of Division I men and 83% of Division I women's lacrosse players play other sports. 87% of Division I female runners and 91% of D1 male runners played other sports before college. Now, across all three divisions, the men's sports is in which athletes were most likely to specialize in sports by age of 12. Now, this little thing were soccer, and that's at 63%. Ice hockey.
Go ahead.
And tennis. That was for the men. Soccer, ice hockey, and tennis for men, where they early specialized. And among women's sports, early specialization occurs in gymnastics, soccer, and ice hockey.
Wow.
And so
I think that listing just affirms that you're talking about career athletes already. They're established already. When we start talking about this machine, and I still haven't got a straight answer on that one in terms of when we say machine, is this public opinion or is this coming from a structured hierarchy that really is not in touch with what's going on this level where, let's say, Tiffany and Stacey is coming from? Because we already talking as if we are parents that now they played before,
right,
in the game. And then even if we had a parent on here that was totally naive to everything, that just paid the $150 and watched their kid leave out every day, he came home and 2 years later he's Buff Bagwell walking through the house. The only time they go to the kids' game is when they're in the championship. There is a level of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say naivety. I would say there's a space missing between understanding the culture
discernment
of it, of it all. Now, if we sit here and say, yeah, well, this is the standard, this is what they say, and this is what we're dealing with. Everything you've described and everything he described conflicts with what you read in terms of what the machine defines it as. So when we look at that, how do you come out with an answer? Is it the description of the machine is off base? Or you're telling me that the stuff that you're going through is that big of an anomaly that your son or daughter is Neo?
So, you know what, Wayne, I think that you are so accurate because I am a firm believer in who are saying the stats, where are they coming from, the data, the researchers, and the people being researched, because that's really a high impact. Let me just tell you, and I usually do the quote at the beginning, right? So this is another quote that I found that I forgot to put who it was from, but it says, "The machine enslaves, the hand sets free." And for me, I believe that, as educators, what do? Now we rely on the computer and our lesson plans being on the smart board or the copier machine. And if that goes down, that has enslaved us and we actually fall apart. But if we actually just do what we've already known for the development piece, we already know how to do it. We're just allowing this machine, whatever that is, to be a faster, hopefully that they're going to do it right. Because if I go back to the copy machine, and I can use this analogy, they smear, they copy front and back wrong, they don't staple, they do all these things that are distorted. They do a lot of great things for the copier, for teachers. But if the machine sometimes breaks down, gets jammed, have smudges, then guess what? The actual person, the actual people who have built this need to now come and say, what can we do in order for this machine to be fixed properly and run longer for the benefit of the students?
Okay.
Right.
Now,
those answers don't come from Siri.
Right.
Coming from a lot of the people that do statistics and analytics actually don't physically get out and look. No disrespect to Kevin Garnett. No disrespect to Kevin Garnett. But as a celebrity, if you were in a basketball tournament and Kevin Garnett walked into the gym, he's only going to see the best of what you're doing. They're not going to see the fundamental coaching. They're not going to see all that because, hey, look, that's Kevin Garnett. Put your best dress on, sit up straight, the whole nine. So
Right.
then his basis, that might be off of him just going to one event. Did he travel the country? Did he travel the state? Did he go to, or he based this off of one venue that he went to? Even then, just from the input that's come in from both Stacey and Tiffany, as well as yourself, and the knowledge that I bring to the table, we see that there is a conflict between what the machine is and
Absolutely.
what's going on.
Okay. So,
Absolutely.
Abby, as you say, where does the material come from as far as who the researchers are? Well, to based on the ones I've quoted from, it got professional athletes, Olympic athletes, NCAA coaches, and medical experts. So that's a nice balance.
That is a nice balance.
That's a balance of individuals that are well vested in athletics.
How many people walk ask you your opinion of the game? How many people walk practice and say, hey, look, I'm sitting here for such and such analytic firm, and I'm looking at the way you guys train these young ladies in volleyball. I'm looking to see all these things. Somebody sitting at their computer plucking away at the typeboard and turning in an Excel spreadsheet, and they go home at the end of the day. That's the problem that you have even with I've been seeing and just dealing with ranking, is that a lot go off of what they see on the internet instead of getting off the keister and coming out and having a conversation with a Stacey or a Tiffany or a Laverne. Because if they had one, it would require them to do far more research and far more
absolutely.
plucking the keyboard.
Well, then again, so it goes back to, so we again, our guest, as Tiffany and I always want to make sure our listeners know, because this is a major question that parents have. How do I not get caught up in the midst of having to do, does it take all of that? Do I have to go to all these tournaments? Do I have to pay?
Right.
What is there if I don't do it? Because that's that last question. Because we
right.
That
what
last
happens
question, if I don't do it? Can my child still potentially have a great athletic experience? Will they still possibly be able to get a scholarship? Because what I think one thing you got to look at, we see the kids, and this is how I view it. We see the kids that get the scholarship there. Say, let's say you got a football team of 40-something kids. 40-something. You might have 12 seniors. Maybe 3 of them might get a scholarship. So therefore, what happens to the other 9? So the other 9 is what I end up getting concerned about, because now what happened to all their hopes, because they were in the midst of the machine too. And so when it doesn't have the payout, that's where the depression comes from in these athletes. I did everything I was supposed to do, and nothing happened. I don't have an opportunity to go to school now. So what do we do in that? How do we get this balance? It's the key thing, because if a parent says, I can't afford, I can't do all this, and they got to work, so they can only play for one team, kind of thing. How do they maintain and still get the end result? Because they could maybe go to a training maybe 2 days a week, not 3-4 days.
And like I know, when you move into those urban communities, the suburban communities, and even some of the cities, many of the coaches, and I know you've done it as well, have taken on the existential work of the parent, where they pick the kids up. They're doing a lot of stuff the parents don't know about, because in most cases, some parents, I'm not going to say all of them, most parents send these kids out into extracurricular activities as just a means to get them out of the house and be active. Yep. They don't take part in it until they find out, oh, my son is like that? They and see, oh, wow, my son's the feature? Or, well, he should be more. He should be Michael Jordan. The unreal standards is set. Continue to conflict when you got parents. Again, another case in point, a buddy of mine, him and his wife go back and forth because he believes in the system and getting his son out there and working out. And the mom's like, yo, we spent like $1,500 just in tournaments, camps, and trainers and gym and all that. And I'm looking at him and I don't see a difference. But if you went to the game and saw him perform, you see why he's getting invitations to go to North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia and these things, because she might be reading what she see from the machine or the depiction of the machine and say, I want it to be a stat. Well, if you definitely do that, you'll find out soon and very soon, he'll be a stat. Because now you done pulled him out of something that you didn't have a full understanding of. Again, it's no different than you and I sitting at a computer. Somebody, an IT tech will run loop-de-loops around you with that. But me, I'm just plucking at the keyboard with one finger. And we have to be able to bring those parents who plucking away at the keyboard with one finger up to these are your home keys, and this is how you type, before you even start talking about the ins and the outs and the Control-Alt-Deletes. So the machine depicted by the system that's set up or structured has to be evaluated because it's not given an actual.
All right, let me ask you this, Wayne. Who do you think the machine is? Because from what the machine is ran by the governing bodies, NCAA, and the freaking Olympic people. That's the machine. Everybody sees itself.
That's already high. That's already high through the college level. We're discussing it at heart. The youth level, mid-level,
because the youth level is what has changed in order to fulfill those other needs.
Okay.
That's the issue, because the funnel is started. You got thousands of kids jumping into that funnel. Hundreds of, if I say thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids jumping into that funnel, and you get thousands kicked out. Less than 5,000 a year. So you get thousands kicked out, but 100,000 went in. And that's the machine. Which was $17 billion industry for sport, youth sports?
Right.
Billion.
That's what I hate to quote Biggie Smalls in this one to say, either you slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. Most parents rather the jump shot.
But that's funny you said that, because a parent told me that, they're like, we always ripping and running, and people always saying, I don't know how you always in the gym, in the basketball court, you up and down the highway, you da da da. And a parent said, somebody told her, you should be grateful for what you're doing with your child on the court, because you should be rather wanting to be ripping and running your child to a basketball court versus and spending all that money traveling versus seeing your child in and out the court system, spending more money that way, right? And I said, I get it, especially depending on location, right? People don't understand how I do it. It was so funny. Yesterday we were at the basketball game, right? And I was telling one of the parents behind me, I was like, I could sit in the gym from sun up to sundown. I love this. And a parent right next to me was like, oh my gosh, I've been here for 3 hours. I can't wait to go home. And I was just thinking about this, the different thought process, because my son was finished playing. I seen about 10 of my varsity and JV kids playing. I was excited about that. Just sitting in the gym all day long. But just the thought process that Wayne says, that parent was like, oh my gosh, I got to go here again. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Until they say, oh, your kid is kind of good. Now they want to be involved. I just think it's the dynamic of the machine. I think it needs to start. It could start at the top, but it has to come from the bottom in order for the top to grow. Like, I just don't understand it any other way. And I'm not that person who's going to listen to anybody in the machine, around the machine, the maker of the machine, because I know better.
Okay.
But all parents don't know better.
You know
better. Make me feel like
that don't know better.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the machine is like Laverne said. If it's how much millions every year?
17 point something billion.
17 billion. So let's think. In 17 billion, how many of them kids wearing Nikes? How many of them kids wearing Adidas? How many of them kids are wearing like especially when you talk AAU? AAU sponsorship is like the biggest thing ever, but people fail to realize is these parents feed that. And you got, because you pay money, you pay your little money and you get a bag and a couple of pairs of shoes, maybe a sweatsuit, but not knowing that organization probably got all that stuff free from a shoe guy.
They got it. They got the bulk rate and probably pay $12 per shirt, if that, and it's all funneled back. But as we talk about this whole machine versus reality conversation, I feel more and more like Morpheus in some kind of way in the Matrix, because somewhere along the lines, it's a disconnect.
Oh yeah.
It's
And
a disconnect.
they base those numbers. You still talk about AAU basketball. How many kids walking around with J's on? We talk about economic disparity. The same parents that tell me, "Oh man, I can't afford to send my son to the Pro Football Hall of Fame." Like, well, where he at? Let me see him. And a 6'3", 213-pound kid walk out the back bedroom with an iPhone 8 in his hand, a pair of Jordans, some jeans. He got his pants pulled down, so he wearing the Calvin Klein and the Under Armour. Yo, he lays from head to toe. Corporate America getting theirs. The machine is not gonna complain when they getting paid. So these type of statistics can only say that there's something wrong with it to keep us busy trying to meet their demands. And even if you meet their demands, they're still getting paid regardless. You still kicking out. You still going to them tournaments. You still doing what you gotta do. And at the end of the day, if you get your kid into college for $65, which is the application fee, because he got a full scholarship, that same parent that's sitting behind you talking about, "Oh, I can't wait to get out of here," they'd be the same one reading about your son in the paper going, "How he got 6 offers and my son don't have 1?"
You're right. But the other problem, I think we got to start closing this out. But the other problem, I think, is when it comes to people think the coach didn't get my child this scholarship. You know, I have an issue with that. So most of the time, the coach has to help the parent, the child, and the school system, right?
Right.
And at what point are we going to be a team instead of telling who didn't do something?
Yeah.
Because I believe as an educator, my child may not have gotten the grades that they were supposed to have, but I, as the parent, is quick to say the teachers failed my child, the counselor failed my child, the school system failed my child. What about my child failing him or herself, or me failing my child, right? What about when a counselor says you need this, and the kid's like, "Oh, can I get a half a day if I don't take it?" Sure, you can graduate, but I thought you wanted to go to college. No, I'm good. And now they don't have what they need in order to go to college, because it's not a college requirement, it's a high school requirement. And now the parent is blaming the counselor. However, the parent didn't realize that they signed off on their kids' next stuff, the next grades, the next class they have to take. They don't look at it, they don't read it, but it shouldn't be their fault. So I think if the machine really wants to work, it needs to work as a team versus individualized parts, because we all know if one part of the machine breaks down, the machine is not going to function properly.
Right. Y'all really working on my thesis that I'm creating in my head as I continue to talk on this stuff, because there is a concept that we use in sports medicine. In sports medicine, we call it the circle of care. The circle of care in sports medicine is that the athlete is in the middle. It is the coach, all the medical, the parent, the counselor, and all of the medical professionals around that particular child. Based on the concept, he is injured or she is injured, what do we need to do to make sure they can still get their academic accommodations and eventually get back to playing the sport? If that same concept was built around any athlete, as far as educationally, with bridging that gap, then we should be fine. So maybe I just have to create that funnel, see what that looks like, and saying this is the circle of care for a student athlete. That way there is no gap. There is nobody to lay blame, because a circle, we are all linked. We are all tied. Everybody knows their responsibility. If I got to shake your hand or jiggle my shoulder so you know that you're next in line, it's continuous. There's no ever a time until that child gets in or out of school that anybody's done. So that whole piece that you just said in regards to not having a blame game, understanding what the expectations are, and I think
From
that's
everybody, right?
a lot of times people get caught up. People want to say what somebody's job is or what somebody's role is, but they don't know. If you don't know somebody's role, then as a parent, you got to fulfill that role. But then at the same time, we know that there are a lot of student athletes that do not have a support system. So who is that true support system for them? And when that doesn't exist, the coach, they're under your leadership, they're under your guidance. How do you put a system of support around them to where they can be successful and not fall through the gaps?
And to the parents watching at home, the gear up is this. When you start to look at the circle of care, you're looking at your individual case by case student athlete. Just like Stacey said earlier, every last one of his children took a different path. They had a different starting point. They have a different ending point. Same thing with Tiffany. Same thing with you, Vern. They had a different point of origin and a different ending. Where you look at the breakdown in it, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you're watching, let's put it out here as simple as possible. If for some reason you're not in communication with the counselor, expect something to go wrong. You can't have the child think they're going to guide all that.
Right.
Disconnect with the coaches. That's something that you have to pick up the slack on. If there's a connect in terms of deciding what school they go to, you have to be able to be involved. You are not their agent. You are not their you're not their broker. You are the potential backer for what your student athlete does. But at the same token, when you start talking about moving up this ladder, you have to understand the subletics of it all and be able to fill in the gaps when the ball gets dropped. Other than that, you're gonna have more than just a ball on the ground. You're gonna have a student athlete that's bewildered because I want to know why I'm not receiving the same things this other guy's getting.
Right.
Other guys having success because he's in the gym, he's grinding, he's doing what he gotta do, he's listening to the coach, he's working out, he's making the most of his time out there instead of sitting on the sideline. Man, I'm not trying to scuff my shoes up. My mom just got these J's for me. They look good with the uniform, don't they? You know what I'm saying? Look at it for what it is. So please don't sit back and depend on a counselor. You have to stay in contact with them. If your student athlete doesn't go to the counselor, even when it comes down to NCAA registration, make sure the classes are put in place. Go over their schedule before they start all those classes. When you start having conversations with the coaches, don't depend on the coach to get your kid into college. Start doing it yourself. Look into who's touring those schools yourself. They're there to assist you. ASSIST. If you take you out of it, the IST, you just make yourself an ass in the process. So make sure what's going on. Do your due diligence. We say it all the time.
Say it all the time. All right, Coach Stacey, you got anything else to close us out with?
I think my man said it all, but this parents really had to pay attention. I think from a coaching standpoint, it makes it a much easier, much better conversation that with the knowledgeable parent and a realistic parent, as opposed to, we all got hopes and dreams, but teach our kids reality too.
Okay.
And in closing, what Coach Stacey said, the sad thing about it is, I believe that, and this is sad, I'm about to say this, but educators tend, when they know that parents are fully involved, to zone in on that child, that the parent wants the best, I want the best then. Of course, you have a few educators, depending on where you are located, that tend to rock out with those kids who parents are not involved. And those kids who I seem to take under my wing as children that have all the issues in the whole universe. However, I embrace that and endure that. But it seems like our counselors and our assistant principals and our administration seem like this parent is involved. Let's keep them pushing, and we tend to move in that direction. So I just think it just takes a village, and we have to continue with the village. And as far as the machine is concerned, I just think if we are 100% honest with each of our parts, then the machine can run a little differently than it has been running. But we have to be honest with everything.
All right. I think people got to know ideally what they want when they start out, and then whatever organization they're involved in is kind of have a criteria, of what you're looking for, and then work toward that. You want the best for your child and your participation. All right, that was very fruitful.
Yep. A lot of great information.
I'm gonna talk to a university AD because there is some research or there are some articles that says that the NCAA is responsible for helping to fix the machine. So
okay.
I'm gonna follow up with and have a part 2 to this and speak to a university athletic director.
Can't wait.
In regards to this, I'm trying to push it for Thursday, but I might need to give them a little bit more time because they might have more to do than us. And put it
you think?
and just put it just for next Monday. And that way we can follow up and have the part 2 from the NCAA perspective.
Sounds great to me.
All right, guys.
To be able to share the world with you. Yeah, we got the whole Brady Bunch thing going.
Wow, that's
All right, see ya.
Good night.
All righty.
Bye.